is a desperate simp who is down bad for a shy girl who can't see past her eyelids. However, when he discovers she's a freak, his love becomes more blind than she is. It all starts when the class is rearranged and Kamura gets to sit next to Mie. The class cluts with the Ikov, a flat earther. One day, she forgets her glasses and Kamura notices how cute she looks when she's struggling to see. When he sits down, Mie tells him to ignore how much she's squinting because she can't see. Kamura is surprised, since she's never spoken to him before. He then wonders how a blind bat can make it to school without noticing her glasses aren't on. Surprisingly, Mie says this happens a lot, so Kamura decides to help her out as much as he can. For their first period, Mie asks Kamura for help finding her history book. But when Kamura tries to get close to help her, he remembers he's not earned the right to breathe near a woman and simply offers her his textbook instead. Mie thanks him and scoots over to share, but Kamura freaks out and tells her to use it alone. Mie asks why, but since Kamura can't explain how his trousers mysteriously got wet, they end up sharing. Kamura struggles to keep it together when Mie suddenly lowers her head into the textbook. This reminds Kamura of how a gog session starts out, so he surrenders the textbook to Mie before he loses his mind. Mie practically enters the textbook, so Kamura plans to build a shrine around it later. Being so close to Mie was scary for him, but he was happy they had gotten figuratively closer too. He figured she wouldn't remember who he was the next day when Mie suddenly got up close and personal. She asked who he was, so Kamura told her his name, and she went back to burying her head in his book. After class, Kamura struggles to recover from being so close to her lips. He remembers how pretty her eyes were but decides to snap out of it before his nose bleeds. Suddenly, he finds Mie sitting next to the lockers and wonders what's wrong. Mie asks who's talking to her, so Kamura reminds her he's the guy that was sweating beside her all day. When she recognizes him, she tells him her shoes are too big, but when Kamura spots his locker wide open, he tells her they're actually his. A few minutes earlier, Mie's friends had offered to help her find her shoes and get home, but Mie was sure she could find them by herself. However, when she opened her locker, she didn't recognize the shoes inside. She ended up searching all the lockers till she found one that looked like hers. Kamura couldn't believe she was in his shoes and wished he was the one she was standing on. Mie apologized for the mix-up and began taking off his shoes, so Kamura decided to help her search for hers. When he opened up her locker, there was some fat frog sitting on her shoes, but Mie thought the shoes just had a green color on them and weren't hers. Kamura told her to look away for a second and got rid of the frog, but when he presented the shoes to her, she figured there'd been a frog on them. Despite the ickiness, Mie gets her shoes on and Kamura does the same. Just before they leave, Kamura stops Mie and tells Mie her shoelace is undone. Some moments later, Kamura helps her tie her laces, while Mie thanks him for all his help, promising to repay him someday. However, Kamura realized he ought to repay her for an exclusive view of her skirt. Mie is grateful that Kamura helped her out all day, so Kamura starts reliving the memories, wishing he could print them out and add to the shrine. Suddenly, Mie gets up close again, and when Kamura starts tweaking, Mie explains that she doesn't want to forget his face, so she can repay him some time. Unfortunately, she might as well have been staring at a soccer ball, so she tells him to show her properly another time. It turned out that Mie lived really close to school, which explains how she made it to school alive without her glasses. That evening, Kamura felt bad, but he wished Mie would forget her glasses again. To his surprise, the next morning, the idiot forgot her glasses again. Kamura was scared that he jinxed her, till he overheard her say she actually stepped on them, and discovered her empty brain wasn't his fault. Later, they had a gym class and Kamura wonders why Mie would participate when she couldn't even see the ball. Mie adds that she can't even tell what team is on, so Kamura figures he might have cursed her last night. To make up for it, Kamura steps in front of her to stop any balls from knocking her teeth out. Mie snuggles up to him for protection, but that stops his body from moving, and he gets taken out first. In the next class, Kamura feels tired from gym class, but when he sees how focused Mie is on her textbook, he decides to be more like her. Suddenly, the teacher calls out to Mie to get up, so Kamura tries to alert her, when he realizes she's actually asleep. Mie talks in her sleep about protecting Kamura, so he realizes that she must have overworked herself in gym class. The teacher continues to call out for Mie, so Kamura tries to wake her quickly, but his hand has never been this virgin before. He chickens out and instead tells the teacher that Mie was only staring closely at her textbook since she couldn't see. The teacher buys it and backs off, giving Kamura extra time to grow balls and touch her. Suddenly, Mie gets up herself and starts searching for glasses. She looks over at Kamura, thinking he's her dad, and asks where her glasses went. Kamura figures she must be sleep-talking but kind of likes being called daddy. However, Mie starts drifting off to sleep again and ends up resting on his shoulder. Kamura can't believe he's finally touched a girl and thanks the gods for blessing him, but the teacher ruined the moment by smacking her. The next day, Mie shows up with that ugly squint on her face and Kamura figures she's done it again. She gets close to his face, but he's thankful she can't see him blushing like a fool. That's before she reveals she's wearing contacts and finally gets a good look at him. The next morning, Kamura and Mie are on lunch duty and once again, the left-brained beauty forgot her glasses. For some reason, they put the blind girl in charge of serving lunch, so everyone was getting portions big enough to count as dinner too. Kamura offered to take over from her, but Mie refused to let go of her task, so Kamura caved, because he thought she was cute. He then told her to at least try serving a smaller amount. Unfortunately, she ended up serving up a rat's portion. Kamura asks if she's sure she's fine, so Mie states that she's getting pretty hungry and wants to have some stew. When Mie asks if he likes stew too, he says it's okay, but he prefers curry. At that point, a fat Oliver Twist comes up for more meat, making Kamura want to slap some extra pounds off him for putting Mie in a difficult spot. Mie convinces the boy to have more potatoes instead, and he happily agrees. However, since she's practically blind, she ends up serving mostly meat. Afterward, they finally get off duty and are excited to stuff their faces. Kamura wonders if Mie was trying to keep some meat for herself, but when Mie walks over to hand him his food, she reveals that she tried to keep him some extra meat to repay him for the other day. Kamura remembers her promise to repay him someday and can't believe she actually did it for him. Mie then asks again if he likes stew, and all of a sudden, Kamura is a stew convert. She tells him to keep the scandal a secret, but the other students literally saw everything happen. Afterward, they all sit to eat, and it turns out to be all potatoes. A week later, the students return to school and Mie returns to forgetting her glasses. She then whips out her contact lenses, but laments how much she dislikes the feeling, especially the part where she takes them out. Mie insists that she has to get used to them and struggles to force herself, but when Kamura sees her discomfort, he tells her not to force herself and promises to protect her instead. The entire class wonders what the grand declaration is about, but Mie tears up and thanks him, making his soul take the next flight from his body. The next morning, Mie finally shows up with her glasses on, but for some reason, she is still pouting hard. Kamura wondered if she might have caught a whiff of his desperation and asked her why she was still squinting with her glasses on. Mie explained that it was stuffy outside and her glasses got foggy. Kamura then stares at the moron, who's never heard of wiping the lenses, while Mie insists it'll get better indoors. At that moment, another four-eyed warrior enters with foggy glasses, and Kamura wonders if the glasses repel brain cells. Mie suddenly announces that there's a stranger in their class, but Kamura assures her it's another student with glasses. Mie wonders if people struggle to recognize her too, but she says she only cares if Kamura recognizes her. Once again, Kamura's soul takes a first-class flight out of his body. Later, Mie asks him for his contact, and Kamura almost offers to tattoo it on his head for her. After exchanging contacts, Mie explains that since she forgets her glasses a lot, she might need his help someday. Kamura asks why she doesn't ask a family member instead, but Mie says it's too embarrassing to tell them, but she's okay with Kamura seeing her embarrassed. This time, Kamura's soul goes on an all-expense-paid trip to Nirvana. So while Mie is yapping about how she's used to Kamura, Kamura's just struggling to survive. Some day later, Mie texts Kamura to meet her at the station. Kamura fell out of bed when he found out and wondered if Christmas miracles happen in January. Later, he arrives at the station and finds Mie in her usual state, without her glasses. She explains that she fell asleep on the train, and when she got off in a panic, she realized they were gone. Mie says she needs to go somewhere urgently and asks for his help to get there. Suddenly, Kamura realizes this kind of counts as a date and starts to make happy noises. He agrees to help, so Mie grabs his hand and asks him to lead the way. Kamura couldn't believe he would ever love his right hand more than he did at midnight. He tries to play it cool and manages to find the shop she is looking for. It turns out that she came all this way to eat cake. When she was having trouble finding the cake, Kamura offered to feed her. He thought he might have overstepped, but she suddenly opened her mouth wide enough for more than a fork. Kamura wondered if he needed her dad's blessing to shove something in her mouth, but he had to act fast before someone beat him to it. He settled for imagining her father and begging him for mercy. Afterward, They stop at the glasses shop and Mie explains that she ordered some new lenses. When Mie tries them on, she's happy to see better while Kamura plots how to swab her DNA off his right hand and preserve it. When he snaps out of it, he thanks Mie for the fun day and tries to leave, but Mie grabs his hand and tells him she wants to hang out with him some more now that she can see him. They walked around some more and had fun, and when they were done, Mie thanked him and promised to see him in school. Kamura thought he might have been dreaming, but when he pinched himself, he knew it was real. Meanwhile, Mie was surprised at how nice Kamura was for letting her drag him around. When she thinks of the fun day she had, she realizes she was staring at Kamura the whole time. Some days later, Mie is in class with her glasses and a face mask. She explains that she caught a cold, hence the face mask, but Kamura worries about her fogging up her glasses. Just then, her partner in blindness walks in with the exact same condition, and gets called a creep by his other classmates. When Kamura returns to his seat, he finds Mie without her glasses, insisting she forgot them. On the way to school the next day, Kamura found Mie making cute cat noises and could barely stop himself from filming his own jizz material. However, when he wondered what she was looking at, he discovered it was a plastic bag. Kamura didn't want his blind queen to die of embarrassment, so he snuck up behind her and pretended to voice the plastic bag. Mie reached out to pet the plastic bag, and just when Kamura thought the jig was up, she ended up petting him and asking where the cat went. Later at school, Kamura was frozen in place when he noticed the most popular boy in school, Azuma. Helping Mie find something caused she forgot her glasses again. While they search, Azuma places his hand on Mie's, and Kamura almost has a stroke. When they finally find it, Kamura scoffs at them, but then he feels bad for wanting to have Mie all to himself. Just then, Mie thanks Kamura for always helping her out, so Azuma laughs and reveals he's not Kamura. Mie explains that Kamura is usually the simp that helps her out. Then she realizes how casual she was with him and gets embarrassed till she notices Kamura standing right there. The next day, Mie's friends can't believe the idiot forgot her glasses again. The girls warn her that she might end up with permanent frown lines from all that squinting. This makes Mie self-conscious, and she practices raising her eyebrows to eliminate wrinkles. Kamura gets to class and greets Mie, but when she turns around, he's blown away by how pretty her eyes are. Unfortunately, the magic wears off and she goes back to squinting since she can barely see a thing. The rest of the day goes by and Kamura looks like he's in a trance. He keeps the memory fresh in his head till he gets in bed and pulls the sheets up to get busy. The next day, Mie asks Kamura to help her practice a game called Shitori. Kamura gets nervous, but agrees because he's a doormat. They start the first round, but Mie laments that he's going too easy on her and tells him she won't improve unless he bullies her. Kamura agrees to go harder and starts drilling her in the second round. Mie struggles to keep up and ends up mentioning Kamura's name, which catches him off guard. The game ends and the rest of the class stops watching the drama unfold. After school, Mie and Kamura end up on cleaning duty, but Kamura is just happy to spend more time with her. Suddenly, he notices a cockroach crawling right beside her and almost sharts. He wonders how to tell her without causing her to panic since she can't see where it is. He then calls out to her and asks her to come closer. She gets so close she can kiss him when one of the other students notices the roach and scares Mie right into Kamura noodle arms. On another rainy day, Kamura arrives in class to find Mie squinting in class even though her glasses are on her head. When she tells him she forgot them, he tells her they're on her head and she accidentally knocks them off. Kamura rushes to grab them and hand them back to her, but Mie closes her eyes so he can do the honors. Kamura wonders if she's waiting for a kiss till his brain boots and remembers the glasses he's holding. He approaches her delicately but ends up sliding the glasses on her lips and almost dies of embarrassment. Mie thanks him regardless while Kamura struggles to breathe. Later, two girls talk about delivering a letter, but when they rush off to class, one of them accidentally drops it. Mie happens to be nearby, so she picks it up, wondering what it is. Kamura finds her staring at the letter and asks what she's doing. Mie explains that she picked it up and asks Kamura who it's for. Kamura takes a look and sees it's for Azuma, the alternate version of Sasuke if Itachi didn't go rogue. When Kamura notices the heart sticker, he figures it's a love letter, but Mie only asks who it's from. Once he tells her, she grabs the letter and goes off to deliver it. In class, she finds Azuma and hands over the letter, while everyone else stares. Kamura watches in horror as Azuma thinks it's from her, so he prepares to crawl up into a ball and die. Some girls walk up to Mie and ask her if she also likes Azuma. Mie misunderstands the question and says she does, further sticking daggers in Kamura's heart as he listens to this train wreck. Azuma leaves the class to read the letter, so Komura follows him to watch his reaction. Komura hopes he can use the power of intense stares to get Azuma to know it wasn't from Mie. But when he sees Azuma smile happily, he wonders what it means. If the sender's name wasn't on it, he might still be confused, but he concludes that he's too ugly to know what a chat is thinking. Back in class, the girls continue to send their best wishes to Mie and Azuma, but Komura wishes the girls would burn in hell. Later, he begins to wonder if this actually isn't a misunderstanding, since Azuma has all the qualities of ice cream that make you want to lick it. Meanwhile, Azuma happens to be watching Komura spiraling into madness and gets an idea. Eventually, Mie notices how down Komura seems and asks if he's crying, but Komura says he's fine. He then asks what she thinks of Azuma, making her wonder what's up with everyone today. She says she likes Azuma, but Komura wonders what kind of like she means. Suddenly, Mie says she'd understand if people were asking if she liked Komura. When he asks why that is, she explains that she's gotten attached to him and actually likes him. Unfortunately, this doesn't make things any clearer. Just then, Azuma walks up with his reply and hands it to Mie. Komura looks devastated but is put on the spot when Mie asks him to read the note to her. Even Azuma is eager for him to read the reply, which makes Komura wonder what's inside. He braces himself for both outcomes, but when he reads the letter, it tells Mie that Komura likes her too. Azuma walks off amused and clears up the confusion with the rest of the class, while Komura is still dazed. Mie asks what was in the letter, and everyone waits for his reply, but he chickens out in the end. Some days later on a cold morning, Komura rushes to buy coffee and is surprised to see Mie in front of the vending machine. He figures the girl must have given up on owning glasses at this rate and asks if she'll really be able to buy her warm cocoa on her own. Mie says she'll be fine and limits how much he sounds like her mother. However, when she tries the drink, she almost chokes on how bitter it is, so Komura reveals that it's black coffee. She asks Komura if he wants it instead, and he freezes up. She figures he doesn't like the taste of suffering either, and says she'll drink it herself, but Komura insists that he'll take it. He grabs the can, but when he realizes it would be an indirect kiss, he chickens out again and says that he doesn't like black coffee. Another morning, Komura rushes to school late when he notices Mie is also rushing to school. He's glad to be rushing with her, but when he tries to greet her, he realizes she doesn't know who he is since she's blonde again. When they reach the side of the road, Komura notices how rough her hair is and her skirt is even partially lifted. He alerts Mie, and she apologizes for flashing him. Then she laments about not wanting to see Komura with her hair all messy. While Mie runs off, Komura falls on his knees to have a tweaking session. Later, Komura helps Mie to the nurse's office after she fell and broke her glasses again. When she got hurt, Azuma was the one who suggested Komura take her, making Komura wonder if he was actually rooting for him. Komura gets nervous by how close Mie is, and surprisingly, she's nervous too, about her weight. However, Komura knows that no matter how much she weighs, the size of his love weighs more. When they arrive at the office, Komura tells Mie to lean on something while he grabs a seat for her. When Komura notices her leaning on a scale, he quickly suggests she choose something else, till he notices how heavy she really is. When Mie realizes what's going on, she goes red and tells Komura to forget what he saw. Later, Komura finds Mie struggling to reach something on the board. He asks what she's doing, so she says the teacher asked her to change the document on the board, but she's short of breath. Komura offers to do it for her, but the short king is humbled when his hand doesn't reach far enough. Azuma then breezes past and helps them get the document up instead. Afterward, Komura says he wishes he was a bit taller, but Mie tells him she doesn't, because she wouldn't be able to reach him when she looked at his face like that. She then casually says she can at least tell who he is from his voice and assures him he'll probably still grow. On that note, Komura hopes he'd never grow taller. The next day, Komura is surprised to find Mie crying, but he decides not to pry. Mie turns to him and explains that she was reading something with some of the students, and laughed so hard that she started crying. Komura is thankful that she was just laughing till he realizes that he missed it, and wants to know what she looked like when she laughed that hard. He hopes he'd get to ask someone else what she looked like, but for now, he settles on what she looks like when she's sleepy. Later, one of the students notices a heart-shaped cloud, so everyone checks it out except Mie, who can't see past her eyelashes. When Komura sees how sad she looks for not getting to see it, he decides to do something about it. That night, Komura sends a picture of it, and Mie loves it. The next day, Komura walks through the halls looking for Mie's glasses, since the airhead had apparently forgotten them somewhere in the school. Just then, a girl called out to Komura, saying she found Mei's glasses at the bathroom sink. She figures Komura can return them, since he sits beside her, and shoves the glasses on his face. Komura's world instantly starts spinning as he struggles to see. Mie shows up at that moment and faintly sees a guy and a girl in a sus position. When the girl calls Komura's name, Mie freaks out and rushes to shove him out of the way. She then apologizes for making a scene while Komura's factory reset is still in progress. The next morning, Mie surprisingly shows up with her glasses on and Komura realizes that she doesn't need his support when she's not borderline blind. He figures it's for the best since he's come dangerously close to having seizures every time she's up in his personal space. Suddenly, he realizes he forgot his textbook and asks Mie if he can share hers. Mie eagerly scoots over, happy to repay the favor, but when she looks over at him, she realizes how close he's been every time they shared a book. Komura quickly covers his face before suffering a stroke. That weekend, Mie gets Komura to accompany her to a glasses shop to pick out new frames. Since the frames aren't prescription, she can't see it herself, so she usually gets her dad to help her pick, but he isn't around this time. Komura realizes how much of a big deal this is, but unfortunately, he tells her every frame she puts on is cute as hell. At this point, even he knows how useless he is, so he tries his hardest to think of some way to be useful. He then tells Mie that he'll think she looks cute, no matter what she wears. With that, Mie decides to just stick to her regulars. However, the next day, she tells Komura that she ended up sleeping on the frames and breaking them. The next weekend, Komura went into the streets to find some ketchup. There, he noticed a booth selling chocolates and wished Mie would give him some for Valentine's Day. Mie happens to show up at that exact time, and hears her name till she discovers it's just Komura. Komura is happy to see her outside of her uniform, but wonders how she made it all the way there without her glasses again. Mie says she's used to the area so she'll be fine, but asks what Komura wanted her to give him. Komura realizes the deep he's in is telling the truth would basically be a confession. He plans to change the subject when he realizes the entire town is decorated in Valentine covers, so he assumes she'll definitely catch on. Just then, Mie points out how red everything is and wonders if they're renovating, so Komura thanks God for creating her without a brain. He then says he needs to go to the supermarket and changes topics. At the store, Mie says she needs to buy mayonnaise, so Komura gets flustered over how shopping together feels like married life. However, his joy is cut short when Mie asks what a reddish attraction nearby is. Before Komura can cook up a lie, Mie remembers the thing he wanted her to give him, so Komura starts begging God for a way out of the grave he dug. He overhears someone offering free samples and asks Mie if she wants some, but when he sees their Valentine's chocolates, he figures it's actually the work of the devil. Komura stops the woman before she reminds Mie of Valentine's Day, then he pulls her away by the hand. He apologizes for being so forward, but Mie simply says his hands are really warm, unlike hers. She points out that cold hands are good for making chocolates, so Komura asks if she plans on making some soon. Mie mentions that Valentine's Day is coming soon and finally realizes why everywhere is so red. Komura desperately tries to change the subject, but Mie asks if he wanted her to give him chocolates. He'd rather make a deal with the devil than have her reject him, but thankfully, Mie was too dense to realize he had feelings. She told him she'd be giving all her friends chocolates, including him. Komura was relieved and settled for friend-zone chocolates. Valentine's Day finally arrives and Komura waits patiently for his pity chocolates while Mie hands the rest to her other friends. After, she walks over to hand Komura his chocolates, but when she checks her bag, she realizes they're all gone. Mie is pretty bummed for forgetting, while Komura hopes he'll qualify for chocolates next year instead. That's when he realizes he doesn't want to stay trapped in friend jail for a year and plans to confess. On second thought, he remembers what he looks like in the mirror and chickens out. However, Mie asks for some of his time after school that day. Once school ends, Mie tells Komura that she at least wanted to give him something so he won't feel left out, but unfortunately, her brain cells couldn't rub together fast enough to form an idea. Instead, she says he can ask her to do any one thing. Komura can't believe his ears, but he takes the opportunity to ask her to listen to what he has to say. He gets up to confess, but he wonders if he might ruin their relationship in the process. However, he figures now's the best time to do it, since she can't see his pathetic face. Komura desperately tries to force his voice out, but when it doesn't cooperate, he apologizes for chickening out. He then promises to tell her another time when she's actually seeing his face. When Mie says she'll be waiting, Komura wonders if she knows what he wanted to say. However, when she grabs a substitute friend chocolate, Komura realizes she's still as thick as her glasses lens. A month later, Mia checks her weight and sees a few unwanted pounds. The next day in school, Komura hopes to give her chocolates to repay her for Valentine's Day, but when he sees Mia, she looks like her soul died in her body. She then explains how she overate the chocolates from Valentine's Day and is trying to cut down on sweets. She then asks Komura to stop her if he notices her on a gluttonous rampage. Komura agrees to help, but that means he won't be able to give her his chocolates. Just then, Azuma walks up and hands Mia some cookies in return for Valentine's Day. Mia struggles to fight the temptation, so she reaches into her bag to pull out a cough drop, but Komura warns her it's actually one of the cookies. Mia lets it go and says it's because she didn't have her glasses on, but Komura eventually notices that she might be at her limit. She almost eats another cookie, but Azuma warns her again, and she claims she didn't see. Komura feels something fishy is going on while another student hands her some chocolates. Again, she tries to put it in her mouth, and Komura realizes she's actually doing it on purpose. Komura insists on keeping his promise to help and offers to hold on to the sweets for her in the meantime. Mia finally cracks and convinces herself she'll just take one bite, so Komura watches in horror as Azuma is about to win. He then suggests she has some of his instead, but instantly regrets going back on his word. Thankfully, Mia is too desperate to care and quickly shoves it in her mouth, thanking him happily. It was unclear if he did the right thing there. The next morning in class, Komura finds Mia staring at something, so she tells him she filled up her point card for sweets. She explains that she'll need to go to a post box to send it after school, but the closest one is in an area she hasn't been to before. Komura gets worried, so he offers to take her there. Mia is surprised, but she takes him up on his offer. Just then, some other classmates ask Komura if he'd like to hit the new arcade after school with them. Komura gets excited till he remembers he has plans to escape the friend zone and declines. However, Mie isn't thrilled to hear this. Later, Mie starts radiating negative aura, and she eventually tells Komura she doesn't need his help anymore, so he can go straight home. Komura insists that he's worried since she forgot her glasses, so Mia switches up and says she's actually wearing contacts. Komura knows she's capping, so when the teacher calls on Mia to read, he wonders if she'll be okay. Mia buries her head in her book and manages to read out the story till she pours at a character with one too many strokes. Mia figures Komura will insist on going with her if she fails, so she fakes a cough, and the teacher surprisingly lets her off. After class, Mia finds a notice that they'll be switching classes for their next period. Some students offer to go with her, but when she imagines Komura pointing out how much she needs help, she refuses and runs out of the classroom. Before Komura can go after her, his friends remind him about the special games that will be out that day and ask if his plans are really that important. For a second, Komura considered putting Broas before Hose, but then he remembered how totally hopeless Mia looked. Meanwhile, Mia had wandered to the wrong class. She admitted that being on her own was tough, but she wanted Komura to hang out with his friends too. Just then, Komura bumped into her and pretended that he'd lost his way too, so he suggested they head to the right room together. Mia tried to pretend she didn't make a mistake, but ultimately confessed she couldn't see. She then explained that she didn't want him to give up a fun day because of her, making Komura realize that she'd been tweaking all day for his sake. Mia starts going extra mushy when she tells him she likes him being around and wants him all for herself. Komura goes speechless, so Mia tries to save face by telling him she'll go to the post box by herself, but Komura insists that he'll take her since he's worried. Mia finally ends up posting her card at a post box closer to the school. Afterward, Mia asks if he likes arcade games, and he says he likes being able to zone out without anyone bothering him. As Komura watches Mia head home, he realizes that Mia could have gone home to get her glasses since she lives close by. He then concludes that he might want her all to himself too. Since he finished with Mia early, he was able to meet up with his friends at the arcade. Some weeks later, it's the end of the school year, and Komura realizes how quickly time flew for him. He wonders if he's getting that much older and checks his spine to see if it needs oiling, but he soon refocuses on his only concern, Mia. He's already worrying about her falling over from sleeping off. At that moment, the teacher announces the recipients for the Perfect Attendance Awards. Mia and Komura get called up among the students, but as they walk toward the stage, Komura overhears some students saying Mia looks like the lead character of a Tyler Perry movie. Suddenly, Komura realizes that he's used to seeing Mia's death stare, but if she goes on the stage like that, her reputation might be in danger. Mia tells Komura how scary it is to have so many people watching them, so Kamura decides he needs to do something to help her loosen up her expression. He hopes to make her less tense, so he tells her about a point on her hand she can press her nerves. Mia asks him to do it for her, so Kamura tries to control his intrusive thoughts when Mia says it only tickles so he can go harder. When Kamura starts shivering under the pressure, Mia says she knows a trick to help with his nerves too. She tells him to think about flapjack octopuses, explaining that time flies when you're thinking about fun things. Kamura lets her go and figures she looks a bit less tense now. He figures that even if people think she looks mean for now, they'll soon come to see how beautiful she is. Kamura gets called on stage to receive his reward, so he realizes how nervous he is to receive a piece of paper. He decides to try Mie's trick and focus on something fun. However, when all he can think about is Mie, he realizes the year goes by fast because all he thinks about is Mie. It's been a year since he noticed her beautifully dysfunctional eyes. Mie stands next to him and tells him she's looking forward to another year with him. Later, they head to class to find out their new seating arrangements, so Kamura starts worrying about who Mie will end up beside. When Kamura grabs his sitting number, he sees it's the exact same spot as the last time, so he heads back to the corner. On the other hand, Mie ends up closer to the front with Azuma right beside her. Kamura figures Azuma would help her out and tries to convince himself that he's not jealous. While Kamura struggles to fight his inner demons, his new seat neighbor wonders what type of weirdo she got stuck with. Meanwhile, Mia asks Azuma where Kamura is, and he tells her he's in the same place. Mia proceeds to stare toward his corner, making Azuma laugh while Kamura has a meltdown over Azuma's bad alpha vibes. Just then, another student tells Mia she's in her seat, and Mia realizes she got the seating mixed up. Azuma tries to help her, and Kamura almost has a stroke from how close he gets. And when Azuma grabs her hand, Kamura can hear the pearly gates calling. All the while, his new seat neighbor tries to talk to him, but he completely ices her out. When Kamura sees Mia's new seat, he relaxes a bit and finally introduces himself to the NPC beside him. Mia keeps looking toward Kamura, making him all giddy inside. Eventually, all he can think about is when next she'll turn to look at him, but he knows she'll get in trouble for not paying attention. At this point, the space filler has had enough and walks to the front of the class to ask Mia to switch seats with her. Mia agrees immediately, shocking Kamura, who thinks she needs to be closer to the board. When Mia gets settled, Kamura asks if that was the best decision, so Mia explains that she doesn't want to get caught dozing off in front, and she could get in trouble for looking back too much. Kamura can't believe his ears, but he can't bring himself to ask if it's because of him. Some days later, their art teacher has them pair up and draw portraits of each other. Mia forgot her glasses as usual, but Kamura determined to buy whatever she scribbles and place it on his door. Mia gets up close to look at him, but when she realizes it won't work out, she asks to draw him how she imagines him in her head. Kamura is nervous about the result, but it turns out to be a pretty decent drawing. Unfortunately, the teacher won't be letting him keep it. Later, Mia uses the bathroom when another student walks in and makes small talk. She proceeds to invade Mia's personal space, commenting about how long her eyelashes and how cute her skin is. Mia ends up getting weirded out and reliving the awkward moment. Later in class, when Kamura walks up to her, she gets close as usual, but when she remembers the bathroom moment, she quickly steps back awkwardly. Some days later, Kamura rushes home, and when no one's looking, he admits he brought Mia with him. Since he's a loser, it was only her glasses he meant. Just 30 minutes earlier, Mia had taken off her glasses when her friends asked to walk home with her. She ended up forgetting them, so when Kamura headed back to his seat, he noticed that she'd left them behind. He initially started freaking out, till he remembered he had her contact and texted her. Mia told him he could just leave them there, but he insisted he was worried about their safety and suggested taking them home with him. Mia agreed, and that's how Kamura ended up looking like he was carrying stolen underwear in his bag. However, his mom simply chalked it up to crotch demons. Later, Kamura placed the glasses on a shelf while he tried to study. Unfortunately, all he could picture was Mia herself, and the focus went right out the door. He pulls out some tissues, but not for what your gutter mind thinks. He simply wants to turn them around. Actually, he tries to cosplay as Mia himself, but he feels ashamed to discover his degenerate side. Meanwhile, Mia studies at home with her spare glasses. After cleaning them, she wonders if the pair with Kamura have any fingerprints on them and worries. Back at Kamura's, the virgin loser just finished wiping all traces of his DNA from her glasses when he notices a call from Mia. He nervously picks up, and Mia asks him if her glasses are being a good boy. However, Kamura doesn't like the idea that he was just wiping down a good boy and starts to feel icky. Mei then says that her glasses being at his house is kind of like she's visiting. Kamura then goes back to hallucinating images of her in a seemingly shorter skirt. By the time he hangs up the phone, he gets haunted by the ghost of girlfriends never had. Needless to say, he doesn't get any sleep that night. After some weeks pass, Mie continues her routine of forgetting her glasses and getting up close to Komura to see him. However, she suddenly slips and falls onto him, so she apologizes for leaning over too much. She mentions one of the times she did it to someone else, and she got so close that their lips touched. Komura's reality began breaking into a million pieces until Mie clarified that it was actually her dad. Komura was worried that she noticed how flustered he was, but Mie was too busy explaining himself and begging him not to think she's a bad girl. Komura wondered if she was actually flustered too, but he promptly gaslit himself. On another morning, one of the students points out Mie's bed hair, but there's no time for her to head to the bathroom to fix it. The girl tries to convince her that it's actually cute, but Mie doesn't seem to buy it. Komura sees how much it bugs her and figures she won't be easily convinced, but she suddenly asks him what he thinks. Komura assures her it's fine, so Mie agrees that it is, making Komura wonder if he's in a fantasy or something. Later on, Mie notices Komura struggling with his achy shoulder, so she offers to give him a shoulder rub. Komura tries to refuse, worried his trousers could get soaked once her hands touch his shoulders. Since Mie insists, she ends up giving him a good rub, while Komura pictures his naked grandma to keep the trouser snake at bay. Mie is actually pretty good at it, but once she's done, she quickly scribbles something about shoulder rubs down. When Komura asks what she's doing, she explains that she wanted to note the things she could do for him even without her glasses. Mie then flashes him a knee-buckling smile and says she can do anything for him when her glasses are on. Some other day, Mie walks into class to find Komura fast asleep. She tries to wake him up for their next period, but when he doesn't budge, she starts exploring the wonders of the male body. When she fiddles with his hand, he wakes up and realizes why his dream suddenly took a wet turn. Mie explains that she wanted a good look at him with her glasses on, but suddenly gets embarrassed. To pay him back, she gives him a free pass to look at her too.
I don't blame you. Damn good deal.
But he quickly passes it up. On a random rainy day, Komura meets up with Mie to head to school. She laments forgetting her glasses for the umpteenth time and ends up walking into a muddy puddle. By the time they arrive at school, Mie gets the ick from her soggy socks. She tells Komura to turn away while she takes off her socks. When she's done, Komura notices her blemished-free feet and turns back to the window so he doesn't unlock a new fetish and lose money on the internet. Some days later, Komura finds Mie alone on a swing set and wonders what's wrong. She explains that she forgot her keys and is waiting for her mom, then she asks Komura to push her on the swing. Komura goes into shock as he wonders if it's okay to touch a woman's back before marriage. He ends up going for the shoulders, but as she swings back and forth, Komura wonders if she's exposing herself in front of other guys and quickly stops the swing. He blames the wind for stopping her, but then he notices how close their faces are. Komura jumps away while Mie assures him that she's wearing pants under her skirt and gives him a quick sneak peek. On another day in school, something falls out of Komura's locker, and when Mie picks it up, he worries that she's going to think he's a loser for spending a fortune on games. Mie asks what the card is, and he's once again glad she's partially blind, so he simply tells her it's an apple card. Later at lunch, Komura beats himself up for not being truthful with Mie, but Mie seems to be lost in thought about something. Suddenly, Mie offers him an apple slice, but Komura insists that she's better off having it instead. That night, Komura wakes up to a call from Mie. He would think she's talking to one of her female friends. When she realizes it's Komura, she apologizes for waking him, but Komura instantly assures her he was already awake. Mie then cuts the call, but moments later she calls back again, confused. Komura offers to help however he can, so Mie explains that she's at a sleepover and had to go to the bathroom without her glasses. However, she didn't know it would be so dark and scary, so she gave up. Komura asks if there's a light switch nearby, so Mie tries to check when she laments her ribbon getting stuck. Komura loses focus to think about Mie's pajamas, but he's dragged back to reality when Mie asks him to sing for her. Apparently, they watched a scary movie that night, so she needs a good distraction. The idiot starts singing the school anthem, but at least it makes Mie laugh. Suddenly, he hears his mom close by and pretends to be asleep. Mie wonders why he's suddenly gone silent and calls out for him, so Komura tries to whisper to her, but this catches her off guard and makes her embarrassed. Kamura's mom finally leaves, so he returns to the call and Mie continues to mock him for singing the school song. Kamura then suggests Mie use the light on her phone, and she's finally able to locate the bathroom. Kamura gets nervous about what comes next, but Mie says she'll mute herself. Before she does, she whispers Kamura's name into the phone, and he gets teleported to the floor. Afterward, Mie finally makes it to the bedroom and apologizes for troubling him so much. Kamura insists he was awake already and wishes he could talk to her till morning, but they both say their good nights. Kamura quickly lifts up his sheets as he thinks of Mie's pajamas, while Mie snuggles close to her friends to escape sleep paralysis demons. Some days later at the pool, Kamura worries about Mie since she forgot her glasses, till he wonders what people with glasses do when they're in the pool. As he stares at Mie, he sees her pull out goggles and hopes they're prescription. Suddenly, one of the guys tell him he's staring a bit too hard, while one of Mie's friends whispers something that gets her embarrassed. Later on the way home, Kamura exits the store to find Mie snacking on something, asking him to keep it a secret. As Kamura stares at her lips, he notices that she won a prize, so before she tosses the stick, he grabs her hand and cues another awkward moment. He explains that she won, so she asks if he's happy when he wins. When he says yes, she tells him he can have it and walks off happily. The next day, Kamura waits at the front of the school when he notices a stray cat. He decides to follow it, but when he gets to the back of the gym, he notices Azuma with a girl and quickly hides before they spot him. He tries to shush the cat, but they already heard it meow. Just then, Mie also walks in that direction looking for the cat. Kamura worries that he'll be caught in a weird spot and starts to sweat buckets, but thankfully the cat goes toward Mie. When the cat starts snuggling up to Mie's feet, Kamura wishes he could be a cat too. Just then, Mie overhears the love confession and pauses for a second, then she returns to petting the cat. Kamura wonders if she's just uninterested and wonders what it would be like to confess to her. As the K-drama continues to unfold, Mie starts following the cat into cock-blocking territory, so Kamura quickly pulls her out of the way right as the girl tells Azuma she loves him. Mie apologizes for almost getting in their way, making Kamura realize she's not entirely oblivious after all. He decides he'll go for it too someday, though Azuma totally rejects that girl. For their next class, the class is split into groups to discuss their field trip project. The boys notice Kamura has locked onto Mie again and tell him to just join her group. Kamura tries to deny the allegations, but they tell him to go in case she forgets her glasses again. Kamura wonders if that's really how everyone sees them, and the boys laugh their heads off. Kamura admits that he does want to be in her group, but he doesn't have the courage to join her group alone. Thankfully, the max number for a group is 6, so the boys offer to join with him, but Kamura still has to take the lead and ask. Meanwhile, Mie is also caught staring in Kamura's directions, so the girls warn her not to forget her glasses this time. She says her plan is to put some spare glasses in her bag. When they ask why she doesn't do that all the time, she explains that she likes keeping a pair at home all the time. Suddenly, the girl teases Mie about inviting Kamura since she's been glancing at him this entire time. Mie admits that she does want to go with him, just as Kamura walks up to her group. The girl takes charge and invites the boys to join their group so Kamura can help Mie out. She warns Kamura that Mie also spends money like a tourist and often spaces out, so they need him to work his magic. Mie insists that they can't just decide for him, but Kamura explains that they were on their way to join her group too. Mei says that would make her really happy. Once the two groups merge, Mei asks Kamura why his group decided to join hers. Kamura says he was just hoping they could go together, and Mei says they were thinking the same thing, so she can't wait. After they manage to pay a teen as they all discuss their plans for the trip. That night, Mie searches for her spare glasses and finally shoves them into their bag. But when she tries to sleep that night, her ADHD starts acting up. She remembers how people think she's a dumb and hopes she won't cause trouble for Kamura again. The next morning, Kamura rushes to class and explains that he overslept cause he was too excited to sleep early. Moments after, Mie also shows up late and adds that she tripped and broke her glasses, but thankfully she has her spares. They head to the buses, and while they wait, Mie grabs her spares. Kamura gets nervous all over again, but Mie tells him she's looking forward to the day. However, when she puts on her glasses, she realizes they're a fake pair that she randomly bought one day. The real ones were under her bed. Later at the museum, Kamura figures that Mie probably brought her fake glasses and won't be able to write her report. Since Mie was pretending she could see, he guessed she was probably disappointed and didn't want to be insensitive. However, she ended up tripping and had to be saved by Kamura, who started steaming. He then noticed an exhibit that would be easier for Mie to see and took her to it. When Mie realized he figured it out, she felt bad for forgetting again, but he consoled her by saying she didn't technically forget. He then tells her he likes being helpful to her, but the amount of cheese in that statement almost chokes him. Mie thanks him, but tells him to go look around and not worry about her. Kamura wonders if she just pushed him away because he was gross. Now he feels like crying. Later, Mie walks up to the wrong group of people and apologizes for mistaking them. She then sits alone till Kamura finally finds her. She had texted him for help, which means she wasn't grossed out after all. Mie apologizes and says that trying to do things on her own was causing them even more trouble. Kamura tries to reassure her, but she breaks into tears, lamenting that she doesn't want to keep depending on him. They sit together, and Mie keeps apologizing for being a nuisance, but Kamura doesn't know how to tell her she's far from it. He remembers all his best memories of her and wonders how he can cheer her up. He then confesses that he wishes she forgets her glasses every day. When Mie asks why, he gets up close and says he likes being of help to her, and tells her not to worry. On the bus ride back, Kamura worries that she might hate him since she hadn't spoken to him since then. However, while Mie hides her face, she tells him he's too nice and places her hand on his. Kamura turns into a tomato as Mie says that his sick blindness fetish made her happy. The next day, Mie can't stop thinking about Kamura's words and thinks he was just being kind again. She plans to stop depending on him so much and whips out her contact lenses. When Kamura arrives, he tries to address his weird confession, but Mie stops him and shows him she's trying to be more dependable by forcing herself to wear her contacts. Kamura is glad to hear it and takes a seat. Later, Mie's friends ask why she's been bothered about forgetting her glasses. Suddenly, Asuka gets a text from a boy, and when Mie asks if she got close to him, Asuka runs out of the class. The other friend celebrates Asuka being in love. Mie doesn't seem to get it, so the girl reminds her of Asuka's face and says she likes him in a special way. Later, Mie wonders about being in love and says she doesn't get it. After, she heads to the teacher's office where she runs into Komura, who asks about her contacts. She laments about them being uncomfortable and says she prefers him helping her. Suddenly, she pulls Komura close and tells him to look at her. She's surprised by how happy he looks, but then she realizes she's seen the face before on Asuka. She then runs off, and on her way home, she wonders if she's special to Komura. That would be great because it's the same for her too. The next day, you guessed it, the heir had forgot her life support. Komura suggested they shared his textbook, and Mie seemed to be in an unusually good mood. She even tied her hair up in a new style. Suddenly, Mie got up close and tried to look at his face, but when Komura wondered what she was doing, she suddenly ran off. Suddenly, that blonde witch showed up and asked if he was just kissing Mie. Thankfully, another classmate vouches for them and says that's just what Mie does when she forgets her glasses. The blonde girl feels disappointed that they haven't tongue wrestled yet, while Komura worries that the whole class is thinking the same thing. When Komura returns, she tries to get close to him, but Komura leans back, claiming to be sick. Mie quickly rushes to get him a mask, and once he wears it, she goes right back to staring. During music class, Mie forgets the point of personal space and Komura worries about people staring. At some point, he wondered why she wanted to stare at his vanilla face anyway. During gym, the blonde girl keeps bothering Komura about the non-existent kiss, while Mie watches them sadly. She loses focus and ends up tripping on a basketball, causing everyone to run up to her. She ends up at the nurse's office, and after the nurse leaves, Mie thanks Komura for coming. Komura hopes people won't get the wrong idea and starts getting red in the face while Mie stares at him. She suddenly asks what he does on the weekend. Komura is surprised, but he tells her how much he likes to hit the arcade. Mie says her dad doesn't let her go alone, but she manages to sneak out sometimes. Mie says that she just wanted to talk to him since he's been busy with Little Miss Pigtails lately. Komura finally realizes he's been neglecting Mie, who's been struggling without her glasses. Mie asks if she can look at his face once a day when she forgets her glasses. However, when Komura asks why she wants to see his face, Mie just fidgets nervously. She tells him it's fine if doesn't want to, but Komura says he doesn't mind. He tells her she can look at his face as much as she likes, so she gets excited to take his offer. Her first viewing session begins and Komura struggles to keep it together. Later, Mie assists Komura with cleanup duty, but when she puts the tools away, she accidentally gets her hair caught in the locker. When Komura alerts her, Mie suggests cutting it away with scissors, so Komura offers to do it for her. Once the sissy gets the scissors, he begins to have a mini panic attack, but Mie assures him she used to cut her hair all the time. Mie asks if he likes it long, but Komura doesn't hear a word she says until he finally cuts it. Later in class, Mie tries to pack her hair up and accidentally drops her hair tie. Kamura grabs it for her immediately, so Mie suggests he help her do it instead. Kamura places his focus on getting it just right, and Mie is happy with the results. She wishes it was like that every morning, so Kamura asks if she means at school, but she says no. Once again, Kamura is forced to do girl math. Some weeks later on a rainy day, the students prepare for the upcoming cultural festival when Mie walks up to Kamura to help. Kamura tells her she looks like she crawled out of a grave, so Mie quickly wipes it off. She then asks if he wants to take a break, so Kamura says he will after he's done with his task. Mie continues to linger, and Kamura wonders if she's run out of things to do, especially when she asks to help him. Unfortunately, she everything without her glasses. Kamura suggests he does the gluing while Mie simply pastes the papers together, but that quickly goes south when she pastes the wrong sides together. Kamura then points out another task she could do to get rid of her, so Mie reluctantly agrees and asks him to inform her when he's taking a break. Kamura doesn't have enough audacity or brain cells to think that she wants to take a break with him. He then notices he's out of glue and steps out to get it when Mie suddenly tags along. When they reach the empty art prep room, Mie quickly pulls him inside so they can be alone. She stops Kamura from putting on the lights and asks to get a good look at him. Kamura says it's fine, but when he realizes how sus they look, he suggests going elsewhere. Mie stops him and says it's better where no one's around. At that, Kamura stops breathing. Kamura wonders if this is why she wanted a break, but tries to convince himself that he's overthinking it. Mie starts her scoping session, which Kamura thinks she uses to calm her anxiety. However, when he sees her turning redder than a popped pimple, he wonders if he's special to her. When they return to class, Azuma informs Kamura that his face is all black, just as the girls inform me, and that her hands are all black. Kamura insists that it's not what it looks like, but it is. Later at Kamura's house, his mom suggests he pierces his ear for the cultural festival. However, Kamura dismisses the idea since he thinks he doesn't have enough steez to pull it off. He figures it's better suited for pretty boys like Azuma, while he ought to cover his face with a paper bag. Suddenly, Kamura notices Mie hit the floor, so he asks her what's wrong, and she says she dropped something tiny. She finally finds it, and Kamura notices it looks like an earring. He suddenly starts wondering if she's into piercings, since he's never actually seen her ears. Class begins and Kamura suggests sharing textbooks, but all he can think about is the sight of her ears with earrings. He tries to get closer to look at them, but gets caught in the act and brushes it off. Later, during art class, Mie shows him her piercing, but says she's just kidding. Kamura asks what she's doing with beads, so she explains that she's using them as eyes for the flapjack octopus she's presenting at the cultural festival. Kamura realizes this is why he fell in love with her. He's a boring peg with no imagination of his own, hence why he wouldn't look good in a piercing. Kamura notices Mie with a needle and warns her to be careful, so Mie points out how scary piercings are even though they're cute. Kamura tells her his family wants him to get one, so Mie places the bead to his ear and tells him it might look cool. She tells him she's not sure since she can't see well, but when Kamura gets home, he searches online for how to drill a hole in his ear. The next day, the students continue their preparations for the festival, while Mie laments not being able to stay back because of her curfew. Asuka suggests breaking it sometime, but Mie says she won't get cocoa the next morning if she does. Afterward, Asuka asks for volunteers to stay till 7, so Kamura volunteers. When they split up to start work, the blonde girl asks if he and Mie have kissed yet. However, Mie interrupts and insists that she wants to stay behind too. Kamura wonders if it's possible that she's lying just so she can walk home with him, but he slaps himself to wake up from his delusions. He decides that couldn't possibly be the case. Afterward, Mie and Kamura get to work, but Kamura notices something is up with her. Mie says she's anxious since she's never been at school this late. After 30 minutes, Kamura thinks Mie should probably be heading home. He suddenly finds Mie's phone on the floor and sees she's gotten a million missed calls from her mom. When Mie returns to the gym, she's unable to find Kamura, but that's because he's hidden behind the curtain. He watches her find her phone and discover the death threats her mother left behind. Mie finally decides to go home and rushes out of the gym. Kamura feels bad, so he follows her to make sure she's okay in a stalker-like way. Mie can't seem to find her shoe locker again, so she gives up, wears her gym shoes, and rushes out. Kamura grabs her school shoes and decides he needs to get them to her. As he stalks her home, he tries to think up an excuse for why he's suddenly showing up with her shoes that won't get him arrested. However, when Mie suddenly stops and cries, he changes his mind. He figures she's going to get scolded and miss her morning cocoa the next day and feels sad. Meanwhile, Mia's mom scolds her for returning late when they hear a knock on the door. When her mom gets it, she finds Kimura, who holds up Mie's shoes and claims he accidentally wore them home, which made Mie late. After Kimura leaves, Mie's mom calms down and tells her to have dinner. Meanwhile, Kimura feels bad for barging in like that and hopes Mie can just get her morning cocoa. The next day, Mie gets to school with her glasses on. She mentions how they fogged up while she was taking her cocoa, so Kimura rejoices that his plan worked, and no one suspects him of being a stalker. On the day of the cultural festival, Kimura reads Mie's diary intensely. It was just a bunch of random things happening to her, but Kimura would have given her a Nobel Prize for it. Next, he goes to check out her flapjack octopus, and can't help but melt over how cute it looks. When he hears Mie's voice come from behind, he walks away so no one knows he's a creep, but he notices her staring at his exhibit too. Kimura freaks out since his is just a plain old circle, but somehow Mie finds it interesting enough to stare at. Later, the students gather for class presentations when Mie heads outside. Kimura decides to head out too, and when Mie spots him, she asks him to sit with her. Mie tells him she read his diary and thought it was very thoughtful, so Kimura feels happy over the mutual simping. She tries to look at his face, which makes him nervous that someone might see them. Mie says everyone's in the gym, but Kimura wonders why she needs to when she has the glasses on. Mie feels bad that she's being too demanding, but Kimura just wants to know what she likes about his basketball-shaped head. Mie says she finds it calming but insists that she'll try to cut down on doing it. Kimura tells her he doesn't mind at all, and confesses that he wants to do it too. Mie tells him to go for it, so this time, Kimura places his hand on her face and stares into her eyes. Since her beauty is blinding, he can't stare for long and pulls away. Mie tells him he's just like a dad, making Kimura wonder if that's the only way she sees him. Mie then suggests they head back, leaving Kimura trapped in the "you're like family" zone. After the festival, the students need to fill out a survey about their futures. Mie asks Kimura what he wants to be in the future, but when Kimura realizes he has zero dreams for the future, he refuses to answer. Mie says she wants to share her dream instead and starts scrolling through her phone. Apparently, her dream in preschool was to be her dad's bride. When she shows Kimura her picture, he instantly gets flustered. Kimura asks how old she was back then and realizes he needs to be arrested. Mie then gets embarrassed and says she won't show him any more pictures. Kimura asks what her dream is now, so she says she wants to own a fish and get married, but not to her dad. Kimura gets sad since he's in the dad zone, so he wonders what type of guy she wants. Mie changes the subject to the armorist she made the other day and shows him her masterpiece. When Kimura takes a look, he asks if she drew a hand on it, so Mie suddenly becomes flustered and agrees that it's just a hand. Later that day, Kimura finds his preschool album to check what his dream was. When he sees office worker, he realizes he's been dead inside for a long time. It turns out he was sleepwalking through life till he fell in love with Mie. Kimura gets called for dinner, so he tries to recreate what Mie drew on hers. When his mom asks if it's a maple leaf or a hand, Kimura goes red in the face and claims it's a hand, not wanting to believe it is something else. He then fantasizes about what Mie's omerus tastes like and pictures her right beside him. Suddenly, he realizes what his future dream is. The next day in school, Kimura writes that he wants to be Mie's husband in the future but figures it's too creepy. He tries to erase it when Mie walks up and sees the husband part. When she asks whose, Kimura says no one in particular to save face, but Mie returns to her seat annoyed. In the next period, Mie gets grouped with Azuma for cooking class, so Kimura starts giving off cursed energy vibes. He wishes he would get to taste Mie's cookie too, while his partner looks like she wants to throw it out the window. When Kimura sees Azuma getting close to her, he wishes he could swallow himself whole. In reality, Azuma is giving Mie advice on how to make her cookie look like an arcade token. He tells her Kimura would love it either way, making her wonder how he knew it was for him. Another classmate warns Mie that the token dispenser at the arcade got busted and Kimura got sad. Meanwhile, Kimura thinks the whole class has finally turned against him. Mie continues to ask what Kimura is like at the arcade and wonders if it's a bad idea to make coins, but the boy assures her that it'll probably be fine. Azuma mocks Mie for being slow, even with her glasses on, but Mie wonders what that's supposed to mean. Azuma then shows her the cookie he's making for a girl who lives next door. Mie can tell he's in sim mode, so she asks how old the girl is. Azuma confesses he's into older women, so she wouldn't normally talk to him. So he decides to borrow Mie's idea and use the cookie as an opportunity. When Mie asks if he has to confess to her, Azuma says he won't get a chance to be with her otherwise. Later, Mie waves goodbye to Azuma, while Kimura sweats jealously. The other girls ask her what she was discussing with Azuma, but but Komura can't bring himself to listen and runs out of the class. On the way, Mie grabs his hand to stop him. Komura feels bad for making her run and gets her some water. She's happy she was able to catch up to him and asks if he thinks she's slow even with her glasses on. Komura avoids answering that, so Mie shoves his hand in her cookie. Komura finally starts breathing well again, while Mie shyly tells him she really wants him to have them. Komura wonders why she's being weird, but when she laments about being slow, he assures her that it's good that she's easygoing. Things get awkward real fast, but Komura says he likes the cookies. Later at home, Komura tries to rid his memory of that picture of Mie. He decides to check his old pictures and ends up discovering an embarrassing one. At school the next day, the picture accidentally slips out and his friend ends up finding it. Komura explains that he fell off the bars, so Mie asks to see the picture, but unfortunately, she's blind again. On the bright side, Komura decides to add the picture to his shrine since Mie touched it so much. When school is over, Mie and Komura walk home together, and Mie asks to stop at the park. Once they get there, she says she'll need her glasses and tells him she'll run back really quickly. While she's gone, Komura can't help but feel like it's an after-school date, but when he remembers that embarrassing picture, he decides to practice looking cool. Turns out his arms are about as strong as a noodle. Mie finally returns and asks to see the picture from earlier. Komura figures it's only fair since he's going to jail for looking at hers, but he discovers that he left his back in school. Mie looks sad, so she asks him to repeat the trick that made him fall over. Komura asks God to come to his rescue, but God said pass. However, on his next try, he finally makes it round. Mie runs up and takes a picture of them together. She offers to send it to him, but tells him not to show anyone else. She then tries to flip on the bars too, but ends up being a noodle arm warrior too. However, just the sight of her shorts was enough to give Komura a nosebleed. The next day, Mie shows up in her fake glasses again, so she tells Komura to try them on. Komura nervously puts them on, so Mie begs him to take a selfie so she can check it out later. However, when she checks her bag, she finds her real glasses, so they can finally be Four Eyes twins for once. The next day, Mie is back to blindness, which Komura seems to prefer for her. One of the girls puts Mie's hair in a new style and Komura's trousers get tighter. During swim class, he continues to stare at her, claiming it has nothing to do with the swimsuit, but he wonders how she plans to keep her hair done. During lunch, Komura notices her hair is all messed up now and informs Mie she has a grain of rice stuck in it. Mie freaks out and ends up doing the entire style. During her next period, Mie's hair is still damp, so she ends up getting the textbook soggy. Mie apologizes and says she'll tie it up, so Komura tells her to do the previous style. Mie is shocked, but she goes to meet her friend and returns with the style, which makes both of them happy. After school, Mie asks Komura what type of fish he likes, so he picks salmon while she says flapjack octopuses. She then looks sad for some reason and asks Komura what clothes he likes. She suddenly changes her mind and tells him she'll figure it out, then leaves. As Komura is about to leave, he overhears her bumping into someone and decides to eavesdrop. The guy says it's an old classmate of hers, but Mie says she can't see his face without her glasses on. The next day, Mie forgets her glasses again, so Komura offers to share his textbook. Mie suddenly loses focus and says she's been struggling to remember the face of an old classmate. She figures it's because she was always forgetting her glasses. At this, Komura realizes he spends most of the time with the blind version of Mie and wonders if she'll also forget his face someday. After class, Komura and another classmate offer to help carry some art supplies. On the way, Komura talks about Mie forgetting her glasses, so the girl tells him he acts like her dad. Later, the teacher announces that their entrance exams are coming up while Mie asks Komura to walk home with her. On the way, Komura says he'll have to study hard during the break, so Mie asks if he won't be able to hang out much. Komura adds that he's got vacation plans with his family and Mie looks depressed. He tells her she needs to remember her glasses when he's not there, so she promises to try. The next day, she manages to wear her glasses, so she tells Komura she finally found a picture of her old classmate. Komura asks what he was like, and she says he used to tease her for forgetting her glasses, unlike Komura, who always helps her. Komura then wonders what he can do to make sure she remembers him. After school, Mie suggests they head home together, but they end up acting extra awkward. They stop at the park, and Mie hopes to try the bars, till she notices she forgot her shorts, which eliminates the swings too. They head to the slides instead, and Mie tells Komura to join her in the middle. Komura gets nervous because it's tight, but Mie insists it's just right. She then tells him she wants a look at his face since their break starts tomorrow. She puts her hands on him and tells him to do the same, and Komura realizes that he's starting to want something more. After, Mie sends him the picture from the other day, and Kamura regrets sweating like a loser. However, he figures that Mie might not forget him now that she has something to look back on. Once it's time to leave, Mie tells him not to forget her during the break, so Kamura grabs her hand and musters up the courage to tell her he wants to see her face tomorrow or sometime during the break. Mie is happy to hear this and immediately agrees. It turns out that when they first met, Kamura found her blind and stupid as usual, so he helped her buy a popsicle. Mie explained that a mean boy from her class had stolen her glasses, and when she told her dad, he said the boy wanted to be her husband. Mie then tells Kamura he's nice like her dad, so she thinks her husband should be a kind boy like him. Those words stuck with Kamura, and now he's fine with keeping it in the family. Is this what they mean by love is blind? If you made it this far, confuse the fake fans by commenting RIP Kamura. And if you like anime recaps like this, watch this video here.